Welcome to Inside the Walls with William Pasquale, brought to you by PernaFrederick Commercial Real Estate. Welcome to a new level of commercial real estate built upon relationships and proven results. Good afternoon and welcome to Inside the Walls with William Pasquale. Today we'll be speaking with Steve Perna, president of PernaFrederick Commercial Real Estate right here in Center City, Philadelphia. Back in 2007, Steve and his partner, Matt Frederick, launched PernaFrederick, envisioning a full-service commercial real estate firm that would be boutique in size, but offer a broad range of personalized services. As Steve says, PernaFrederick is built upon relationships and proven results, as you just heard in the intro. Whatever your company's real estate needs are, lease, own, invest, PernaFrederick is here to meet them from the ground floor to the top. Over the course of his career, Steve has sold or leased over 7 million square feet of office space, in addition to the other real estate work that he's done. Steve is on the board of the Philadelphia Soul Charitable Foundation and is a member of UNICO, the Italian-American Cultural and Charitable Organization here in the city. And here is Steve Perna. Hi, Steve.
Hello, William. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing excellent, thank you. And thank you for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure.
About to say now, something about this interview group that we do here and this show that we do is that it's a little bit more global outside of Philadelphia. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your background and why you started PernaFrederick back in 2007? Sure,
I'd be happy to. And thank you for that ringing endorsement. I appreciate it up front. Yeah, I am a Philadelphia native, South Philadelphia originally, and way back in 1986, I started my real estate career with what is now CBRE. Back then it was called Coldwell Banker Commercial. And I started in the downtown Philadelphia office market and was there for about 10 years or so. And from there, I went to the Arden Group, which is a Philadelphia-based investment development company. And with them, I worked on the acquisitions team and helped them grow their office portfolio across the East Coast and a little bit into the Midwest. And in addition to that, I was charged with establishing a real estate services division for them. Since then, Arden really hadn't at the time had a commercial real estate services type of company. So I did that, and that's where I met Matt Frederick, and Matt and I established a really solid relationship and wound up growing that division, and we're there for about a little over 11 years. And then, as you mentioned, in 2007, we broke out and established PernaFrederick. So it's a little over 13 years now. We've got a number of very seasoned and tremendous professionals in their field in commercial real estate, as well as a fantastic staff. And we're headquartered right here in Philadelphia, providing, as you said, commercial real estate services for many different clients. We're very, very proud of the accomplishments and the people that we have served and the people that we have.
To say, and it is an incredible organization. I don't think I hide it too well here that I actually obviously work within the organization. So, it's fun to be a part of a team like this. I will say that.
Well, we're a little bit contrarian under these times, especially in that we started to grow a little bit, evidenced by you being with us as our most recent addition. So
yes,
there you go.
So, I know a little bit like this, but just to kind of talk about it a bit. What do you see life has been like in the Center City, Philadelphia commercial real estate market? Are you seeing an increase of companies coming back into the office? We had this, great interview with Jerry Sweeney from Brandywine Real Estate Trust, a short time ago, and we were talking about people coming back into the city and just back into the office a bit. Have you been seeing that increase yourself as you're walking around town? What's your feel on that?
Well, that was a great interview with Jerry Sweeney, and you can't get a better picture on life in the city, as well as in some other markets than with Jerry being a CEO of a publicly traded company. Downtown Philadelphia life, not great, but it's also not New York, right? As much as I love New York. So commercial real estate, there's a number of sectors that make up commercial real estate in Philadelphia. So there's the office market, there's the retail market, there's the hospitality hotel market, and also multifamily, which is apartments and condos. So of those, and we're in the office sector, I would say we are, sorry about that.
That'll happen. Hold on. You're a commercial real estate professional, last I checked, so your phone is constantly ringing. I understand that.
All the time, even at home, and that's not good. So, so we're pretty well, I think, in Philadelphia positioned to rebound in a pretty timely manner after we have that. What's that thing we're all waiting for? We're waiting for the vaccine, right?
Yes.
Or more than one vaccine that is proven successful and gives people confidence that they can come back to work. Now, we're in an urban area. So like a number of urban areas, it relies heavily on public transportation. So that's where the vaccine comes in to play really significantly. So once we're able to do that and have people come back in public transportation and feel comfortable, and then I think there's some momentum that happens once people start to come back. But currently, it's not great. And I think in the short term, and in our world, short term is 12, 18, 24 months. It's still wait and see what happens even after the vaccine, because it is going to take a little bit of time. So, but go ahead.
Let's say, do you foresee the vaccine really being the thing that really turns it around to get people back in? The reason why I ask that is, in conversations that I've had with different people, people say, it's like, I don't know if I want to be the first to take that vaccine, despite all the, for all the good and the bad, no matter where you reside on the political spectrum. The question I wonder is the vaccine going to be the thing that really brings everything back, or is it getting over the fear of catching the virus? Or is it a combination of both?
Combination of both. I am never going to say I never was the greatest at science in school, but I really do believe a vaccine, and how people can be, if they see people in the office, and it's not going to be everyone's going to come back at once. So it's going to be phased in, which they're trying to do now, a lot of companies. So if 25% are in and things are good and the vaccine is being proven and there aren't more cases, and then it goes to 50, then I think it will follow suit. Now, obviously, there's going to be a number of people who will remain working from home in some form or fashion, and they did that before the pandemic. So
right.
So it's still to be determined, but I think in the short term it's going to be pretty difficult. But I think this notion of mass exodus from urban areas is really not going to happen. I just don't see it. Evidenced by, look at Facebook and look at some of this big tech. Facebook made a major commitment to their lease in New York City. Twitter, right? I think of Amazon. Amazon has a number of their offices in downtown markets that are going to remain and expand. So look, the culture in downtown is here, it's vibrant, and I think there's going to be a big effort, certainly in Philadelphia and a lot of other areas, to come back downtown, because you've got service industries, restaurants, museums, all of that have to thrive. So, I remember in 9/11, everyone thought there was never going to be any high rises built or traveling to New York City. Now, this is not like that. Driving jets or flying jets into office buildings isn't necessarily contagious, at least maybe for that day it was. But you saw what happened there. Eventually, people got comfortable and it happened. And I think that's going to be the same here.
Yeah.
I think. I hope.
I'd say you and myself both.
Right.
Yes. Now, how do you, as a commercial real estate advisor, assist companies that are out there today, right now, that are out looking to figure out what their options are? And some of these companies that have leases that go beyond the next couple of years, some of these people that have leases, companies that have leases in, 2023, 24, 25, 26, 27, people that may have even signed a lease right before the pandemic that all of a sudden had this moment of, wow, now I know what it's like to not be able to have people in the office. So some people can work in, some people can work outside the office. They're trying to figure out how to get themselves back in, and how do you, as their trusted advisor, assist them now, especially with the ones that don't know if they've got a lot of options.
Yeah. So, and we represent, when you say companies, we do a great deal of tenant representation and consultation for companies who lease space. We also represent ownership, that whether they're institutional or entrepreneurial owners that have real estate and office buildings with tenants. So the tenants are wondering how they're going to pay the rent. The owners are wondering if they're going to collect rent. So we come in to that equation, because we do have great relationships with both. Is the first thing is to try and establish a platform of economic stability. So certainly in the beginning, everyone was scrambling around trying to figure out what was going on. So there was the word compassionate and compassion out there. So we really assisted the tenants in guiding them to ways that they might be able to survive and have a bridge to the other side, so to speak, when things do pick up, and worked it out with their landlord. And conversely, we worked with the landlords in being a bridge to the tenants and making sure that the relationships remained strong with them and their tenants. And a lot of the owners had lenders to answer to. So there was compassion there from the lending community for the most part. So that's what we really tried to do, and then just provide a path to stability. Now, the ones whose leases were coming up in 20 and 21, a much greater degree of flexibility than the ones who were coming up, as you said, in 24.
And we've dealt with some of that, yeah.
So the ones who were coming up soon, they had the luxury of maybe not renewing, sitting back and just waiting and playing it out a little bit before they re-entered the market and assessed how large they were going to be, how many employees they were going to have actually coming into the office versus staying home. The other side of it, the ones that made those long-term commitments, that's where you guide them on their legal obligation. What does their lease say? What rights do they have to either sublease? Can they buy out of their lease? So there's a number of different avenues that we guide them on, to make sure that we help them lessen this burden. And what makes it difficult for them is they can't plan effectively, because we really still don't know yet. So if a tenant says, okay, I have 6 years left on my lease, I'm going to sublease all the space. Well, if they do, and all of a sudden things get better, well, they have lost that space and now they have to re-enter the market. So it's still, a lot of tenants are in a wait and see mode, and especially the ones that have that obligation, they just kind of have to. So, but we're here to help them in whatever they need. And of course, from a profitability standpoint, it's not the greatest, but it's all goodwill.
Absolutely.
And it's something that we're just wired that way. And so we believe in just providing our expertise. And if you do the job, then the rest of the stuff will, take care of itself.
And you have companies that, some of these companies have multiple locations. Some of them have offices just here in Philadelphia, depending on the type of shop that we're talking to, that have leases coming up in 23, 24. And they're sitting there going, okay, well, I've got like 20% of my staff currently in the space. Don't know what I need to do. Should I have everybody come back? And they're really trying to figure out, how do I bring people back in? Is it more of a, like a compassionate, consultative approach with these types of users the users of the space, to help them negotiate, realistically with their landlord, so you create a real win-win for both the tenant and the landlord? Is that possible?
Sure. It's definitely possible. And we also will cross experience with some other groups that we've worked with that have done it a certain way. And then we will convey those experiences to other of our clients who may be in a similar situation. And it's really market to market. It's industry specific. It depends on the company. So there are a lot of factors in there. And yeah, there's some psychology involved as well, and therapy and hand holding. And
Yeah.
as I said, you want to create stability, and because it's a very unstable situation right now. So we try and do the best we can with that. But again, there's a legal document that governs what happens and who's obligated in a long-term lease. So there are ways that we work within that.
Now let me try to change this a little bit and take the conversation on a different path, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Your business is a transactional business. Brokerage is a transaction. So the people that work for your company are type A personalities, commercial real estate brokers, of which I am, humbly one.
Yes, you are.
How have you been able to keep them calm, optimistic, sharp in a time of just real uniqueness in this business?
Not easy. Okay, so when this first started, and you're right, you're working with very successful, hard-charging people that are used to really controlling their own destiny for the most part when it comes to the work they produce, the fees they can earn. So it's almost like being on the field, a football field, and in the middle of a great drive, which kind of things were going. The referee calls timeout, sends everybody back into the locker room, turns the lights out on the stadium, and tells you stay there, and we're not sure when we're going to turn the lights on and come back. So just imagine what that's like, especially when you're wired to move that ball down the field, produce. So not easy. So from a company standpoint, we felt the most important thing in the initial months was to communicate with everyone and listen, and just see if we can help them with the calls they were getting, because as I mentioned, they're getting frantic calls from their clients trying to figure out what they can do, what are their options. So we created this little forum where we would check in every week or whenever it was to make sure we all shared information. Past that, when we realized this was going to be a little longer than we thought, we did everything we could to make sure that they found those silver linings, if you will, within the shutdown, staying home, finding creative ways to keep yourself sharp. Certainly physically, get out. We were heading into better weather. So reconnect with your family, go on those bike rides, learn to cook, all different things that you can do to keep yourself sharp and healthy. And also, it was important to keep them optimistic because this will end. Okay, it's definitely going to end, and there's always going to be opportunities that come out of issues like this. So you have to stay sharp and you have to be ready because it will end. And we did suggest that even in the shutdown, if they could come into the office once a week, once every 2 weeks, just to feel it again, to see what it's like. This is what you do. Because, after 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, not being here, things could start to change. So it was important that we felt if they can just come in.
Absolutely.
That would help.
Let's say, and from just, being part of that team, I know that, given the current rules and regulations that we all have to follow here in the city of Philadelphia, and making sure that we're being present to the fact that we're still in the middle of a pandemic. At the same point in time, we need to be present for our clients and our services, and just really being respectful on both sides of what's necessary to be doing, okay, to make sure we're being in service of our clients at the highest levels, as well as being respectful of people and their health issues in the middle of that, of this, very unique time that we have. It's just very, very interesting all around. So
yeah, and I think some of the significant others of our guys they were like, you know what, that's a good idea. Why don't you go into the office at least for a day? When you're home all the time, 24/7, after you're not used to having
Right.
that, that's not a bad thing either. So
No, absolutely not. And it's great to see that, you have a commercial real estate firm that's looking at not just remaining stagnant, but looking at adding headcount in the middle of all this, when a lot of our worthy competition has been on the other side of that. You're building a team and increasing your team.
No doubt. And we're seeing opportunities that are rising from this pandemic, from just from what we're listening to, that we are shifting a little bit of our focus as well to meet that demand. So,
Yeah.
no, I'd like to think we're over the hump, but you never know. So.
Exactly. So I wrap up every show, as you're well aware, by this thing called wisdom on the wall, where, people have a mantra, a way of being, some just phrase that they use, that they live their life by on a day in and day out basis. What's yours?
Being around as long as I've been around, you read a lot of different things, and you try and use certain things for guidance. So what would I say would be wall-worthy to post up there? I would say just a few things. One, run your own race. Two, definitely run your own race. Two, that life is a participation sport, not so much a spectator sport. And this concept of learning how, about paying your dues. So run your own race. Understand your abilities. I would have loved to be a Major League Baseball player, but I, at some point, realized that wasn't in the cards. And even in my profession, we'd like to think we can do certain things that, that we always aspire to, but realize, that may not be where my talents are best suited. So make sure you run your own race and run it hard and do it well. That is definitely something that I would think is important. In today's world, you can be inundated 24/7 with reading about what other people are doing. So when I say life is a participation sport, you can stand and watch and be a spectator and read about this or read about that. And I even tell this to my kids about staying on the laptop all the time and just reading about what other people are doing. So put it down and stop reading. You have to read for some information, but get in the game. Get in the game, because you literally, as you know, we can spend all day reading articles, whether it's current about pandemic, whether it's about other things, self-help, whatever it is, but you don't actually get out there and do it. So, And then paying your dues. I remember a long time ago, I was probably complaining to my father about some unexpected setback in my life that was important to me. Probably he looked at it as, it's not that big of a deal. And he said, look, let me tell you something about paying your dues. Just because you go through that toll, that life toll, don't think you're done. It only gives you the right to get back in line again, to pay them again. Just hope that each time the line is longer and the toll is less expensive. So that helps ground you and realize no matter what, you don't get too high, don't get too low, because you never know what's coming. And so maybe you can find some space on your wall for all those things.
Well, thank you very much. Steve Perna, PernaFrederick Commercial Real Estate in the great city of Philadelphia. Thank you very much for being on this week.
My pleasure, William. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Until next week, when we will have our next guest. Thank you.